Have you wanted to write a book for months or even years, but you've been certain that you don't have enough time? I have good news for you. You do. I can almost guarantee that you do. Today, I'm going to show you how to find time to write no matter how busy your life or how packed your workday is. So let's go. The first time I ever wrote a novel, I Googled how many words are in a novel. And the internet told me about 70,000. So I just wrote until I hit that number. The draft was terrible. So I rewrote it again and again and again. I was 29 and single, and because I tutored in the evenings for work, I had the luxury of hours and hours in the daytime to stare at the computer screen, killing time, waiting for genius to arrive. Well, finally, I sold that novel. And then I sold my second novel based on a proposal, meaning I hadn't written it yet, which is a cool thing that you can often do after you sell your first novel. But this time, I was in a very different circumstance. I had taken a full-time job for the healthcare so that I could have a baby, and then I had the baby. So, hello, reality. The last time I had written a book, I had all the time in the world and no responsibilities. Now I had an 8-week maternity leave and a newborn who was sleeping 3 hours a night. And I had a book to write. I no longer had the luxury of staring at my computer screen for hours every day waiting for inspiration to strike. So what did I do? I figured out a process that worked for me, and it did work. I knocked out my novel in 2 hours a day, about over my 8-week maternity leave. So these days, I run a program teaching writers to do exactly this, to write their books around their busy schedules. So if you're thinking you don't have time for this, I can almost assure you that you do. The key is to find a process that works in the life that you have, not the life that someone else has. Okay? So let's take a look at what that might look like. First, we want your first draft to have at least 65,000 words, which is a respectable length for a first draft in most adult genres. So how might you get there? I pulled a couple of concrete examples to show you what this can look like. Now, these are real people, 2 people in my program, the Book Incubator, and myself as an example. First, let's talk about Joe. Joe is a lawyer, and he's a writer in my program working on his first novel while maintaining his law job. Joe averages 850 words an hour, and he writes 45 minutes, 6 days a week, taking Sundays off. At this rate, he's on track to finish his novel draft, and again, by that I mean hit 65,000 words, in just 4 months. Now you may be thinking, how does he know how many words he writes per hour? Well, for this, you're going to have to do a little experimenting. No one actually knows, until you sit down and write for an hour on a couple of days and then count up your words and average them. You don't need to be super meticulous about this. Just a rough estimate will do. And if you're thinking, how on earth does Joe average 850 words an hour? The key here is that for a first draft, you're never editing as you go. You have to turn off your editor. You're just getting the story down, letting the words flow. This is critical to getting your first draft down on paper. You must trust your writer self to revise later. Okay? That's how he writes 850 words an hour. Let's look at another example. Sarah, another writer in my program, is a creative writing professor with a packed class schedule. When she's truly in writing mode, not editing mode, remember, as we want to be for the first draft, she can write about 600 words an hour. She writes for an hour and a half, 4 days a week. She actually puts her writing time into her work calendar, so it's booked there. Like, people can't schedule meetings for her during this time because it shows up as busy. And she takes 3 full days off every week. So on those 4 days she is writing, sometimes her hour and a half is all in one sitting, like one big chunk. And other times she has said that she divides it into half-hour increments between meetings and classes. However she does it, writing in this way, she's wrapping up her draft now too, after writing for just 4 months. Now, before I share with you my personal writing schedule, I just want to say that when I onboard people into my writing program, the Book Incubator, the first thing we do is work out the writing plan that best fits into your life. So if you want to learn more about that program, check out the links below. Now back to the video. How about my personal writing schedule? Well, I write pretty fast at about 1,000 words an hour. Again, you need to know this is being in the flow and not judging, not rewriting. I'm not doing any revising as I go. Also, when I'm working on a book, I'd like to write every day. I don't write every day when I'm not working on a book. In fact, I barely write at all if I'm not actively working on one. But while I'm actively working on a project, I do write every day. And so, writing for about 45 minutes to an hour a day, I can typically finish a draft in under 3 months. Think about this, 45 minutes to an hour or up to 90 minutes just a few days a week, and you can finish a solid draft of your book in one season. This is basically a workout schedule if you like fitness. If you can fit working out into your life, you can fit writing a book into your life. Now, there's one more idea I want to leave you with today. One of the writers I worked with, Liz, finished her second novel in the driver's seat of her minivan in the carpool pickup line. Another writer, Pushpa, is a doctor at a hospital and wrote her entire novel on the Notes app of her phone in between patients. And I talked to a writer the other day who dictates his novels while he walks his dog. And he has published dozens of novels that he has written this way. I'm sharing all this to say that the idea that you need to be in a specific place or write in a certain fashion to be a, quote unquote, real writer just isn't true. You do what works for you, schedule-wise and tools-wise. Speaking of writers I work with, are you writing a book or do you want to write a book? Because if so, I want to hear from you. When I'm not writing, my mission in life is to help talented writers write their dream books. I love it. I live for it. So if you're curious to know more, I have a free video walking you through my exact process for writing a book. And you can get it by clicking below and answering just 2 questions to apply to my program. You can get the video whether you join or not. There's no pressure to enroll. Just click below to tell me a little bit about you and your book. You fill out the form online. I'm so excited to hear from you.